Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode on the Unleashing Potentials podcast. I'm your host, Bernadette, and joining me today is Minhdoan. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yep, that's right, Bernadette. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. How you doing?
Awesome. I'm good. I'm good. There's a blizzard here, but I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, Minhdoan, where about are you, and what is it that you do?
yeah. I am located in the San Francisco Bay Area, California, and I run a coaching company and brotherhood called Contagious Healer. So what I do is I help men, especially entrepreneurs, veterans, executives, high performers, develop emotional mastery so that they can lead their lives uh, with strength and purpose and
Oh,
presence.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's really cool. Because I'm happy to hear more because men and women, we do think different. We heal different. We have different perspective. I would love to hear a little bit more about your story. What was your upbringing like, and what brought you into the line of work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I come from a family of three siblings. I'm the youngest one, and my parents are Vietnamese refugees. So they escaped during the Vietnam War, and we ended up residing in the Bay Area ever since. So this is starting in the late '80s.
Mhm.
But when I was 13, my dad passed away from stomach cancer, and I felt very empty. I was looking for that father in my life. So I looked everywhere for father figures, coaches, mentors, teachers, bosses, and I do believe I got what I needed. I ended up joining the military with my brother, and I got a lot of direction in my life. Um, but as I started to step into my 30s, uh, being with my wife for over a dozen years by that time, um, I actually looked to her for that same kind of direction. And that was a problem because because we in that honeymoon phase, it was the relationship was very romantic, of course, right? We had that sexual polarity, which was always a good thing. However, when I started to look to her for direction, as if she was my boss or mentor, um, she naturally wanted to give that to me because of her upbringing and how for her stepping into her masculine was very beneficial for her to step out of a space of a very volatile environment growing up for her. So ultimately, we ended up fighting a lot. Like every month, we got into a lot of fights, arguments, and she would tell me at the end of those fights that I just wasn't there for her emotionally. I wasn't emotionally available for her, and I honestly didn't know what that meant. So then, um, by the time I was ready to start a family with her, I asked her, you ready to do this thing with me, right? And she's like, I want a family, but you are not freaking ready to start a family with me because you're not emotionally available for me or for yourself. How do I expect you to be that person for our growing family? And that was like the biggest kick in the nuts, right? That was like, wow, like there's something I'm missing here.
Mhm.
So then I ended up going down this journey. I searched far and wide for answers, for solutions, and came across a brotherhood where I learned about what it meant to truly love me, like all parts of me. And that included doing somatic work, so work on the body and the breath work and the energy that's helping me to unwind a lot of the unexpressed trauma and experiences that I've had stuck in my body. And instead of suppressing my emotions, I learned how to feel them, how to express them, and truly regulate my nervous system. And as I did that work, I became more present, more grounded, more centered, and I stopped looking for that validation outside of myself. And that was the shift right there. That shifted my relationship entirely. And my wife was able to relax more into her feminine energy. And eventually we started the family that we both wanted. And today we have a beautiful baby. She's 2 years old. And every time I look at her, I'm just reminded of how grateful I am and honored to be able to have the courage to step into this space and really show up for myself, first of all, and to love all parts of me. And then really see how that created this beautiful ripple effect onto everyone else around me. Starting with my wife and my family and my community.
Oh, wow. You can interview me because I can listen to you talk. It's so refreshing. Your story. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. And
Thank
I
you.
know for sure your story will resonate with people and has continued to resonate with people. I'd love to hear more of your opinion about the masculine and feminine energy because before I
Mm,
knew that, I thought it was masculine men, but everybody has it. Can you tell us
absolutely. Yeah, great question. Everyone has both energies.
more?
Everyone has both energies. And with my upbringing, I looked to many other people for direction. And in a way, I was more in flow state of kind of relying on what others are directing for me. And um, you could think of it as like a river, right? Like I was the water kind of flowing where everyone else that I looked as, people that I looked up to was like the bank, like just like telling me to turn left or right or like stay in the middle, right? Um, that's more of the feminine energy that I was in, right? Just kind of flowing and just really going with emotions. When I brought that energy into our relationship, um, my wife brought more of the masculine energy because in her in her upbringing, she had a very volatile family, right? Mental health challenges, mom with paranoid schizophrenia, and she realized she needed to step into the direction on the decisiveness of it all in order to step out of that environment. And as a result, she realized that for her, we didn't call it feminine or masculine energy, but for her, she realized like she needed to be very much in the masculine in order to um, run the show, in order to step out of this place of unsafe, right? And she brought that into our relationship. So she was much higher in the masculine energy, and I was much higher in the feminine energy. So it felt okay at first until we realized that naturally um, I wanted to be, or I needed to be more in my masculine. He needed to be more in her feminine. And that's where the rub happened because every time we got into those fights, um, she never really felt like she had the opportunity to be in her feminine.
Mm,
She felt like she always had to put on the hat of like the caretaker,
mhm.
mother,
Yeah,
the nurturing, right? But then she's like, what about me? Like when 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 is my turn? When is my opportunity for someone to take care of me?
yeah.
Right. And that's when I really start to understand like, wow, this is a we do have both energies. We have the feminine and the masculine. And it's so important that to flex into each of the styles and knowing how beneficial it can be in our lives when we can do that. Right. One of my favorite analogies when it comes to the masculine and feminine is you can picture the masculine as the captain of the ship.
Mm,
The masculine is the captain of the ship. They make the decisions. They're going to steer the boat where it needs to go. The feminine, however, is the weather.
yeah.
So how do you steer the ship in any type of weather? So you basically, as a captain, you got to understand the tools necessary in order to steer the ship in any type of weather.
Yeah.
However, the weather may come and go as it pleases. So how do you become a beautiful container of that and be able to direct the ship to go where it needs to go, regardless of what the weather is bringing you? It could be a storm, It could be a beautiful sunny day, but you still got to move,
Mhm.
right? So last thing I want to mention with that is like, feminine tends to lean more towards a human being, whereas the masculine is a human doing. And so just understanding that there's a very different dynamic and relationship that comes with that type of energy,
Yeah.
and how it's the yin and the yang. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, beautifully explained. Thank you so much. Thank you. How important is it for all of us to tap into our inner child, to heal that? Because there are so many wounded adults. I can see that you did the work. I'm
Oh my
still
God.
doing the
Yeah.
work. So many adults are wounded and relationships are impacted, work, life, and we don't always understand where to start. I'd love
Right.
to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Beautiful question there.
Thank you.
Um, the very interesting thing about doing this work is that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And you see it everywhere. I see it everywhere around me. It's amazing. It's wild. Um, the inner child work is the key. Like having the awareness of that. I actually do something with my brotherhood every 2 months called the 30-day challenge. It's a viral masculine 30-day challenge, and it's 30 days of separate activities that allows you to actually look within, right?
Mm,
It's not about around you. It's about like what's happening deep inside your own body, and realizing that there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of experiences that stay stuck to our core. Like it stays in our body. And in those moments in time, whatever we did, whatever we experienced, and the emotions that were tied to those experiences
mm,
are very strong. Uh, so then whatever we felt in the moment and whatever mechanism that we did at the time, we hold that as solid and true forever.
mm,
So we might be in our 60s, 70s, 80s, and because of what happened to us, maybe when we were 8 years old, 9 years old, it worked for us then. So we deem that as true and right and correct. So then we bring that with us and we keep that with us for the rest of our lives without realizing that it actually has an adverse effect. It has a negative effect on how we see the world, the perspectives that we see. And
mhm,
another sad thing is that one of the six human needs is significance.
mm,
And when we tie ourselves to that experience of the past, we are actually making it more significant, and we explain it to people in a way through our stories that this is why I am the way I am.
yeah, yeah,
And whether that helps us out or not into the future, we hold that perspective very solid.
mm,
So
yeah,
then there's that means that with our prefrontal cortex, we're going to find more reasons to prove ourselves right.
mhm,
So if I had a bad experience, if I had a bad relationship, my if my dad was a drunk, and I tell myself, oh, that's why I'm a drunk, then I will continue to find reasons to prove myself correct that this is why I'm still a drunk.
mm,
Right. So then that's the power of our prefrontal cortex, and how we can bring out, if we don't resolve the issues and the experiences and learn to rewire ourselves from our inner child experiences, then we're actually going to bring that past into the future,
yeah,
because we're just projecting more of who we think we are.
mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And let's talk about ancestral trauma while we're talking about
Mm.
trauma, because so many of us, I was born in a different country and culture, you were too. We are taught to fill pretty big shoes. We are
Mm.
taught at times to do exactly what our parents wants us to do. And we never find our identity. We lost it before we could even understand what it meant. I'd love to hear your opinion and perspective on that.
Oh man, the ancestral ties, the ancestral ties are huge.
Yeah.
And that I can give you my perspective based on my ancestral patterns, right? And from my point of view, it's um, Asian men, they tend to struggle with vulnerability very often, and quite often it's not because of who we are. It's like you mentioned and alluded to. It's what comes from our parents and our parents' parents and our ancestors. So coming from a place of um, escaping Vietnam and making it to the States, uh, it was all about survival,
Yeah.
right? Survival. So the long story short, the reason why it's tougher for Asian men to be vulnerable is because they grew up in parental conditioning and societal conditioning of uh, emotions is a distraction.
Mm.
Emotions is a distraction because if I'm here to survive, I don't need you to share your emotions right now. You need to show up. You need to be a provider. You need to honor the family. And uh, if you share or express emotions, then um, that you're just taking up unnecessary space,
Mm.
right? So, and that's there. There's some truth to that, but there's also, as you know, it can be very false as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So,
Mhm.
and then you have the whole concept of filial piety, which dates back to 2,000 years ago with Confucianism, where you have to show up in ways that honor your hierarchy, your discipline, your family loyalty and sacrifice, and social harmony, right? But the challenge is that when you bring that to folks in America, um, folks in America are really big on self-expression and individualism, right? So even though these are all great things, it can collide very often,
Yeah.
right? So then now you have first generation, second generation immigrants, and guilt moving into a completely different environment that creates tension,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So, and it's not about one being right over the other. It's more about how do you integrate both of those and respect both cultures
Mm.
into who we are and really evolve that into something that allows us to be emotionally aware and present and have a high level of integrity and connection,
Mm.
right? And even, like I'm 39 and I'm still experiencing a lot of that that tension between the two different cultures, right? It truly is a dichotomy, and just understanding that it's okay to experience that, and it's more about how do we navigate that, how do we respond to that going forward, and how do we integrate both
Yeah.
perspectives together.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes that I received in my brotherhood was, "The man with the most power is the one that can see all perspectives available to him without holding any one solid."
Mm.
And I love that quote because it's like it reminds you that you got to be open minded. You got to be able to see other perspectives, and that your perspective is based a lot on your own experiences. So you're seeing life through your lens, and that's just one movie. That's your movie, and you narrated it that way. But there's billions of other perspectives out there, and when we start to open our minds up to those possibilities, we start to grow a much deeper level of empathy for everyone as well.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
as an
welcome.
immigrant, I can relate. I get culture shock up to now, and it's not something that's
Mm.
gonna go away. That's what I think at times people don't always understand if they're not an immigrant. If we live in survival mode, okay, we want to excel and do the best that we can, and at times our best isn't always enough for everybody.
Mhm.
And we learn to understand that's okay because it's enough for me, for my family. So I understand that part. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for sharing. Thank you.
you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Yeah. Tell me more about your organization, Contagious Healing. Healing is contagious, but what does it mean for you? When did you start it?
Yeah, for me, I'll start with a story because it big catalyst and inspiration actually started with my brother.
Mhm.
So we both joined the military together. I'm really close to him. We're only 14 months apart. My mom actually wanted twins, by the way. She didn't get twins, so uh, she she just made us wear the same clothes all the time, and actually held him back 1 year so that we can just be in the same grade. And
Yeah.
I did everything with him. We did absolutely everything. Super best friends. We went to college together. We joined the Marines together. So we can talk about anything.
Yeah.
But when we joined the military, there's a rule that actually you're not allowed to be in the same unit, because God forbid if you both get deployed and something happens to both of you in the same unit, then now the family doesn't have two sons,
Mm.
right? So they made sure that we were in completely separate units, which also meant that different jobs, different deployment times, right? So I went to Iraq in '05, '06, and he went in 2009. So my experience was decent. It wasn't super traumatic in any way. His, on the other hand, was very painful.
Mm.
Um, so he had a lot of trauma from his experiences. Um, he held it for years. He held it for like 10 years.
Wow.
And it created a huge void in his heart. There were moments where like things just got really dark for him, and he would attempt suicide. And it was just very sad to hear those times back in the day. But yeah, like there were times where we would hang out, we would party, and then he would just start crying, and I would ask him like, what's going on? You could tell me anything, what's going on, and he would just simply just wipe his tears and just say nothing,
Mm.
nothing's happening, right? And I was just really shocked by that, because I'm like, dude, you could tell me anything, like what's up? Um, but he finally had the courage to share his story with me and my wife when we were all volunteering for a National Alliance on Mental Illness. So we were volunteering, and he was like, he thought to himself, like, if they're volunteering in this space, maybe they would understand. And this was 10 years after the incident. But he finally shared. And what was really beautiful was what happened after that. So as he started to open up about his experiences, something powerful happened. And every time he shared a story, the monster in his mind became smaller and smaller.
Mm.
And the pain lost its power because it wasn't hidden anymore, right? He was not, it wasn't becoming this big monster that was just, that was out of the spotlight. So as he started to shine that light, it started to get smaller and smaller. So that's when I realized the power of vulnerability, and how powerful it can be to just be visible and share your story, and how it can transform your life. So as he started to share more and more, that 1 ton weight
Mm.
on his shoulders started to like be lighter, and now like he's thriving mentally, physically, financially, and um, he's living across the seas in New Zealand, and he's having a good time with his family. Um, but yeah, that's where the healing begins. Is like when you finally start to share the truth about what you're carrying,
Mhm.
right? Having a space for that, holding space for that. That's where it begins. So that was a huge catalyst, and I would say that that was the first, other than my own experience, that was one of the first times where I was like, you know what, it's so powerful to create a container where you can hold space for others.
Mm.
And that was a big inspiration for me, is to create the business which allows other men the opportunity and the avenue
Yeah.
to express what's truly coming up for them, without any judgment. It's a closed container, safe space, and they could say whatever they want to say. And we talk about everything under the sun, right? We could talk about mental health, physical, financial, even sexual health. Right? We talk about all these things that are coming up with them in ways where they feel like they can't do that with family members or with friends or colleagues because it's just a different environment, right? So we don't call it a friendship, we call it a soulship
Mhm.
because we hold everyone accountable to the higher version of themselves. Like we don't see them as they are, we see them as who they need to be.
Yeah.
And we hold our feet to the fire. So the accountability piece
Yeah.
and just allowing for that full expression is a big component of contagious healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's incredible. That's awesome. The work that you're doing, it's so important. Because as you're sharing about mental health, I continue to live and struggle with mental health. I wish for everyone to find someone like you in their life when they're going through a hard time to confide in, to talk to, because most of the time we just want to be heard,
Yes.
without judgment, which is exactly what you're offering, no judgment, and people can come as they are. I'd love to hear, if you'd like to share some success stories with one or more clients or in general. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do I begin? Oh man. Um, a very common success story that I get a lot from the guys is that um, no matter what, we all get triggered, right? But a beautiful thing about doing this work is that they now have the tools to be able to respond much more effectively, right? For me personally, I stonewall. Like I showed up a lot as like there's different male archetype patterns, 12 of them to be exact, but the ones that I showed up as very often were the fixer,
Mhm.
the ghost. So I might like just disappear and just
Yeah.
like be in the background, or the people pleaser, right? And a very common reaction when I let the nervous system take the steering wheel is I would stonewall, right? So if something were to trigger me, I wouldn't say anything. I would just look like that, even though there's so much happening in my head, right? Because the thought was, if I were to say something, it's gonna make the situation worse. So I'm just gonna shut the hell up right now. Because if I don't say a word, then at least, I'm not the reason that it gets worse. Ironically, it becomes worse because I'm staying silent the entire time.
Yeah.
Right. So a big success in a lot of these men is that they now have the tools to be able to address their triggers in a very effective way when they communicate to their loved ones. Where, some of them used to tell me that it would take uh, at least 3 days for the tension to dissipate, right? The tension from that trigger or the fight that they had. And it wasn't because they were addressing it, it was because it no longer had a charge. So it took like 3 days to just like disappear. But does it really disappear? No, it comes back. It comes back even stronger.
Yeah.
Um, some of them say like, oh, like we never addressed it. So then it actually comes back like a year later or like 20 years later, right? Um, so the big success here is that we're actually able to show up so much more effectively where we can own the feeling, we can own that experience and communicate it to our loved ones in a way that doesn't point fingers. It's not shaming and blaming, and then we take ownership on that feeling, and we can actually communicate it immediately. Like it takes minutes, like seconds to minutes, to really address that feeling and and be able to sit down side by side with your loved ones, looking at the experience together and talk about it and work on it together rather than projecting that challenge and that issue onto the other person.
Yeah.
The thing about polarity is that quite often when you are angry towards someone or frustrated, it's actually not that person that you're frustrated at or angry at. It's more about the traits of that person are the exact traits that you don't like about yourself.
Mm, yeah.
So it becomes an inner awareness and really like putting yourself under the magnifying glass to ask yourself, why is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And usually that goes back to your inner child,
Yeah. Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I've done that in the past,
Mm,
right? Because it's a projection, just how we do it. And
right.
I just, at times I meet people that are either the same way as I am, like the thought patterns and everything. It's just the friction. So I love how you
Mm.
explain it. Thank you so much for sharing. So
Yeah, you're welcome.
yeah, what are you working on? Are there any projects, any new projects that you're working on?
Yeah, so the business is fairly new. It's been about a year and a half. So really, it's about getting the word out, sharing the love, continuing to break that stigma uh, that we have to keep it, all together.
Yeah.
And it's important to let guys know that um, it's that we have both feminine and masculine energies, and it's important to express both, right? Because when you learn to express both, you actually become a very beautiful container
Mm,
for your loved ones that want to express it as well,
yeah.
right? The golden rule. Are you familiar with the golden rule?
No.
So the golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated,
Oh, yes, I am then.
right?
Yeah.
So that there's a platinum rule, and the platinum rule is really the next level up. It's treat others the way they want to be treated.
Mm.
But I had like this shower moment where like I'm like, no, there's actually one more. So like I call it the contagious healer rule. It's treat others the way they need to be treated.
Mm.
So it's not about the way you want to be treated. It's not about how the way they want to be treated. It's about how they need to be treated. And it's such a beautiful realization because now you're realizing that you may not you may not be speaking to them as they are. But what's more important is actually understanding that there's a higher version of themselves that you need to be speaking to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that person deserves your love, your presence, your attention,
Yeah.
right? So then you're bringing that type of person out,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, like it's continuing to share the love. We just had our very first retreat last month, super impactful,
Yeah.
and we're gonna continue to grow that. So we're having another one in September, October, later this year, and just continue to grow the brotherhood.
That's
Yeah, so
awesome.
that's it's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. How did you have your retreat? Was it in person or online?
It was in person.
Oh, okay. Did you go
It was in
somewhere
person.
tropical?
Um, I went to uh, I went to somewhere in the Central Valley in
Oh,
California.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was like it's wine country, uh,
Ooh.
and we had like a 4 acre property that was just a huge playground, just boys being boys. Like there was a swimming pool, hot tub,
Yeah.
game room,
Yeah.
pickleball court, a lot of space to really uh, scream and like just be as loud as you can, which is
Yeah.
part of the work, right? So yeah, it was really fun, very impactful.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really, really, really fun and really cool to do. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing. So as we
Yeah,
wrap up, I have a few questions for you. Where can people connect with you and work with you?
yeah, absolutely. So it'll be on my website, contagioushealer.com, and then you could also find my name, Minhdoan Ngo, and contagious.healer on Instagram and YouTube as well.
Awesome. Last question for you, which I ask every guest. What is the meaning of life for you?
Oh man, how much time you got, Bernard?
Oh,
um,
a few minutes.
the meaning of life. the meaning of life is to feel alive and to be in the full expression of who you are.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah, you're
for
welcome.
coming on the podcast. Thank you for what you do, how you do it, and you are helping set so many souls free and just people to live in their light and potential. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brenda. Thanks you for having me.
You're welcome.